Before we dive deeper into atomic UXR, it's important to understand the grounded theory research approach and the method of thematic analysis to unearth insights and learnings from your data. First, we'll start with grounded theory. Grounded theory is a well-known methodology employed in numerous research studies. The methodology uses qualitative and quantitative data generation techniques and sets out to discover or construct theory from data, which is systemically obtained and analyzed using a comparative analysis. These analyses provide focused, abstract, conceptual theories that explain the studied empirical phenomena. So what does that really mean? Grounded theory is a natural approach to making theoretical conclusions with your data. In the simplest form, grounded theory approach means that the theory is grounded and emerged from the data, and that is why it's known as grounded theory. Grounded theory was developed by Glaser and Strauss back in 1967, and the basic essence of the theory, in the simplest terms, is to be constantly comparing your data from one data set to another, whether that's learning from an interview, a usability study, or field notes, or even another set of data completely. These comparisons lead to tentative categories that are then compared to each other and to other instances. Comparisons are constantly made between data, within and between levels of conceptualization, until a theory can be formulated. This type of theory researchers call a substantive theory, and since the theory is grounded in the data and emerged from it, the methodology again is known as grounded theory. So I like to think of it as simply evidence-based approach or empirical approach to developing your theories. Some of the positives when using the grounded theory approach: first, great for projects starting off where discovery is needed. Second, with the wide spectrum grounded theory provides on a phenomena, creativity is easily harnessed. When you cast a wide net and you've been entrenched in the data, creativity is easily fostered because of your vertical and horizontal ability to think. Additionally, grounded theory is very flexible in nature and can respond and change as the research study evolves and changes. Next, grounded theory produces large amounts of data. With the vast amount of research methodologies to capture qualitative and quantitative data sets, this leaves a researcher with an abundance of data to comb and analyze. Next, grounded theory is great at determining what actually happens out in the wild. For example, let's say you set up a shadow test where you're sitting next to your user and you're watching over their shoulder, and you're asking them, after they might have missed a click, what were they thinking? What did they expect to happen? In this way, you're actually able to see and learn further in what's happening out in the wild. Next, grounded theory provides a systemic approach to data analysis. And lastly, provides for a deep and rich data set on the phenomena and the research topic, which otherwise would be hard to come by. On the other hand, grounded theory has its negatives. First, many of the grounded theory methods take skill to execute and time to develop those skills. Next, grounded theory methods tend to produce large amounts of data, which can be problematic to manage and analyze effectively, which can lead into the last negative, which is the process is extremely time-consuming and exhaustive. Uncovering themes in qualitative data can be overwhelming and difficult, whereas summarizing a quantitative study is actually quite simple, right? Your abandonment rate is 88% within the first 30 seconds, let's say. But how do we summarize a collection of qualitative observations? While there are a plethora of research methodologies to generate qualitative data, the process of synthesizing and analyzing the data to uncover user needs and insights can vary from researcher to researcher. The one method that I found extremely helpful in combing data efficiently is called thematic analysis. Thematic analysis is a systematic method of breaking down and organizing rich data from qualitative research by tagging individual observations and quotations with appropriate codes to facilitate the discovery of significant themes. Thematic analysis comes into play when all the research is ready to be reviewed and analyzed. Since data analysis is the process of making sense of data, in order to make sense, a researcher must organize and consolidate the array of data, reduce and synthesize it, and interpret it all so that it makes meaning. It's a very complicated procedure, and to be honest, it involves a lot of back and forth between certainty and uncertainty. And the first thing a researcher must accept is that they'll never know it all, and that's okay. As the name implies, the process of thematic analysis involves finding themes, in which these themes are used to help researchers answer questions and find meaning within large amounts of data. The approach is extremely flexible in that it can be used with numerous other research methods, as you'll see when we use it to feed data into our Atomic UXR knowledge framework later on in this course. The driving benefit to thematic analysis is that it helps researchers understand aspects of a phenomenon that participants talk about frequently or in depth, and in which those aspects of the phenomenon may be connected. Additionally, it is the perfect method for exploring and uncovering patterns across the largest groups of qualitative data. So as I've said before, what does this actually look like in practice? Similarly to Atomic UXR, taking a systematic approach to analysis can ensure a comprehensive review of the data and lead to more accurate representation of users' motivations, needs, and behaviors. The thematic analysis process is as follows. First, you need to review all of your data. So let's just say you've just finished up an interview. You need to take the recording, transcribe it, listen to it again, reread it, whatever you need to do to review it. Next, you need to capture anything meaningful by coding and tagging the data. In the next lecture, we're going to talk about coding and tagging at depth, but this section is all about going through that interview and highlighting what you find is meaningful and important. Thanks to technology, there's some amazing tools out there that help make this a breeze. Third, it's important to discuss the data right away, to share it with your colleagues, and to build a conversation on. Fourth, organize and group the data. This step is typically done by taking all of the highlighted and coded data and affinity mapping, taking it, putting it all up on the wall, and clustering the data into groups so it's easier to find themes. Which leads us into the fifth step, review the groups and create themes. Sixth, take these themes and validate these hypotheses that you have. Once those are validated, that's when we have to start sharing the findings through reports, summaries, and other UX deliverables, whether that might be through a wireframe or through a journey map or anything that illustrates the findings. Don't worry, we're going to come back to these steps in the next video, where we're going to talk a little bit more about the coding, the tagging, and the uncovering of themes and creating themes. So in summary, the purpose of thematic analysis is to analyze qualitative data and identify themes, sometimes referred to as patterns within the data, right? This provides deeper user insights and improves the research impact on the organization and the users. As a research initiative progresses, the size of the data needed to be analyzed grows respectively. Each interview, survey, and document that needs to be analyzed can get pushed farther back on the list of priorities. And this can just lead to lost insights and forgotten themes. Hence, as you collect your data, it is important to, at the bare minimum, add your quick takeaways and notes, your top-line notes, to the records as soon as possible, so when you have the time to come back in and code and tag that source of data, you'll be grateful to have the additional context. Though grounded theory and thematic analysis seem like complicated approaches and methodologies to put into practice, the rich and comprehensive insights gleaned from them together make it a required research method for UX. And with the right framework to tie each approach and methodology together, like Atomic UXR, the easier it becomes to have everything work hand in hand in sweet concert to create a harmonious user experience. So that's going to wrap up this lecture on grounded theory and thematic analysis. Next, we're going to cover the basics of thematic analysis, coding, tagging, and finding themes.